Good afternoon and welcome to the Site Plan Architecture Commission meeting of July 18th, 2025. Can we have roll call, please?
Yes, you may. Ms. Pierce?
Here.
Mr. Bender?
Here.
Mr. Camiller? Mr. Niehammer?
Mr. Needhammer.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Yes, I'm here, present.
Mr. Akery? Ms. Powell?
Present.
Mr. Thomas? And Mr. Whitlock?
Here.
You have roll call.
All right, we just eked out a quorum. So our next item is item 20, which is our consent calendar, and there's none. No items to discuss. Item 30 is approval of the minutes from the June 6, 2025 meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be noted? All right, hearing none, the minutes will be approved as submitted. Item 40 is oral requests and communications from the audience. This is an opportunity for anyone that's here for any items that are not on our agenda to come forward and speak. If you are here, please make sure that you sign in and when you come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone here for items not on the agenda? All right. Then we will go next to item 50, which is public hearings. Before we begin, will council please explain the rules that govern this public hearing?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am going to explain the rules that govern this hearing. Before the hearing begins, city staff will give a report. The report will list the criteria that govern the city's decision. After the staff report, the hearing will be open for other speakers. The applicant will speak first and may ask for rebuttal time. Following the applicant, any other interested person will be allowed to speak. Before the hearing is closed, anyone who needs more time to present evidence must ask for more time. If you ask, the hearing will be continued or the record will be kept open, and you will have at least 7 days to present additional written evidence. Any testimony, argument, or evidence you give must relate to the criteria listed in the staff report or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulations that you believe apply to the decision. If you fail to raise an issue or do not give the commission sufficient information so that the commission and any party can respond, you will not be able to appeal the issue to the Land Use Board of Appeals. If you do not raise constitutional or other issues about any proposed condition with specificity so that the commission can respond to that issue, you will not be able to bring an action for court damages.
Thank you, Mr. Schambach. If you're here to testify before the commission today, please remember to sign in and note your name and address before taking the podium. That'll be submitted into the record. In addition to the rules explained by council, we will also be using a timer during this hearing. The applicant or their agent will be given 10 minutes to present their application. Individual citizens who would like to testify will have 3 minutes. If someone would like to come forward and speak for a group, you will have 5 minutes to testify. The applicant or agent will then be given further 5 minutes for rebuttal. Time is up when the buzzer sounds. Our first item, 50.1, is AC 25-144, consideration of plans for a remodel and expansion of the Nutrition and Intake Distribution Center to add a cold storage unit onto the existing building and to raise the roof. The site consists of a single parcel totaling approximately 1.29 acres located at the southeast corner of Cardinal Avenue and Excel Drive and is zoned general and industrial. Excuse me. Applicant is Access Development Corporation, agent is CSA Planning, and the planner is Dustin Sievers. The applicant has requested this item be continued to the August 1st, 2025 hearing. Can I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd move that we grant the applicant's request and continue this matter to August 1, 2025 at noon.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, may we have roll call, please?
Mr. Whitlock?
Yes.
Mr. Bender?
Sorry, yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Niehammer?
Yes.
Ms. Pierce?
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
All right, the motion passes. Next item, 50.2, is AC 24-222, consideration of plans for semi-permanent pod development, the backyard community food court, on 2 contiguous parcels totaling approximately 0.32 acres and zoned in heavy commercial. The property is located north of West Barnett Road and is fronted by Highway 99 along both its east and west frontages. Applicant is Terry and Lori Wells. Agent is Green Top Planning, Development, and Research, and planner is Dustin Sievers. Are there any members of the commission that have potential conflicts of interest, have had ex parte contacts, or conducted site visits of this item? Mr. Whitlock.
Madam Chair, I have gone to this food court in the past, and so I'm familiar with the surroundings. I don't have anything unusual to report about it. It's just that I've been there on other occasions.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Does anyone in the audience wish to question the commission as to conflicts of interest? Okay. With that, Dustin, can we please have a report?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Dustin Sievers with the Planning Department. And first up, we have the Backyard Community Food Court. And that is not a typo. This is a 2024 application. So it's been quite some time, so we're happy to move this one along. Begin by looking at our legal requirements. So the criteria for SPAC are found in section 10.205. They're included in your staff report. Additionally, we have the standards for mobile food pods. That's found in section 10.829A 5 through 17 of the Land Development Code. It's also included in your staff reports, and we're going over those later in the presentation. We have one new exhibit to include in the record. This came about just this morning, so this is the first you've been notified of it. It's very simple, though. This is a revised report from the Medford Water Commission. So you can see they previously requested that the installation of for the water line, the backflow prevention device, be installed within 30 days from the final order. The applicant's agent reached out to the Medford Water Commission and planning staff this morning, requested that be moved to 90 days, and Medford Water Commission was okay with that, so they quickly drafted us a revised report. So this will be Exhibit J-1, which will replace Exhibit G. I believe I said Exhibit G-1. All right, moving along, looking at the project summary. So the site consists of two contiguous parcels. It is a through lot, meaning that both sides have a street frontage with a street. In this case, we have South Riverside Avenue and South Central Avenue. These are both major arterial streets. Look at an aerial view of the site. The site is leased by the applicant. There is an existing building to the north of the site. It is also leased by the applicant, used as a clothing store, while the rest of the property is used as the subject development, which is the Backyard Community Food Court. As you can see, there is a large gravel area, which traditionally is provided for parking for the patrons of the food court. And looking at this street view, there's two curb-cut driveways, which serves as access to the property. There are no accesses off of South Central. Panning out a bit, looking at the surrounding area, the abutting properties includes Dutch Bros Coffee, and to the north you have the Miller's Paint store. The rest of the area, I'm sure you're all familiar with. These are largely just a commercial area. Site's general land use plan designation is commercial. Its underlying zoning is heavy commercial, and the heavy commercial does allow for mobile food pods. The property is also located in our frequent transit corridor, so that means that no off-street parking is required of developments within this overlay. And the proposal is for approval of the existing food court to operate as a semi-permanent pod development. So quickly go over the history of the site. So beginning in 2021, there was a code enforcement case. It has to do with unlicensed food trucks and unpaved services. So the applicants quickly came into compliance with this case. They did obtain the required business license, and they also poured several pads for each of the individual food trucks. So sometime between February 2021 and 2024, it was brought to staff or city staff's attention that some of the food trucks were not being, they were being located on the property permanently. They weren't being moved within every 5 days, which is required of daily pods. So the building department, who manages the business license, they reach out to the applicant. They explain that they would have to go through the site plan and architectural commission if they intended to have this as a semi-permanent development. So they went ahead and issued the license. It's a temporary business license that they currently working on, and there is a deadline for them to come into compliance. However, we continually move that back as the applicant has been working with planning staff to complete their SPAC application. So in April of 2025, we did have the land development meeting, and at that meeting, the applicant's agent, which is Green Top Planning Development, they asked to continue the application in order to, it's based on some of the comments received by staff in order to come into compliance and provide the what the city was asking for. And eventually they did provide everything we needed, and they set up the meeting for today. Looking at issues and analysis. So we'll start with what is a temporary mobile food vendor pod? So we have two types of pods. First, we have a daily pods, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. These are just individual pods or developments of pods, or in most cases just food trucks on wheels, which operate individually on private property. So as far as there is no special land use actions for daily pods. It's simply a business license, and the planning department is one of the reviewers of that business license. So they are limited to how long they can stay on the property. Per the code, they can stay up to 5 consecutive days in the same location before they're required to move. They're also limited on the size of the outdoor seating they can have. As far as some perks they have, they can provide their own wastewater disposal as well as provide their own water supply. The other mobile food pod is a semi-permanent pod development. Probably the best example is one that's outside of the city. I'm sure you're familiar with. That's the Foodery in Phoenix. So with a lot of these developments, it's not necessarily food trucks as you see here, food trucks on wheels. It can actually be permanent units that serves as the pods. And it does require a SPAC approval. So we kind of treat this like any other development. So they have to go through our Site Plan and Architectural Commission for approval. They also require to provide restrooms and trash enclosures on the site. They're also required to have permanent utility connections to sanitary sewer as well as water. However, there are some, the review body can approve alternative methods, and we'll be talking about that later in this presentation. And yeah, so we've approved a couple tentatively in the city, but yet to have a permanent pod development, I believe, in the city anyway. But yeah, the Phoenix, the Foodery is a perfect example of where we're looking for in the city. So again, the applicant is requesting a semi-permanent pod development. We did explain to them early on in the application process is that if it's their intent to move these every 5 days, they would not have to go through land use and they just continue as is. But they did explain that it is their intent to this be a semi-permanent pod development, and they're willing to comply with any standards that goes along with that approval. So on the slide here, we have at the top image shows the existing site plan, the bottom is the proposed site plan. So in order to come into compliance for this to be approved as a semi-permanent pod development, there's some changes that have to be made. I kind of highlighted the big ticket items. The main one is being they have to pave and reconfigure the parking and the access to the site. So looking at the proposed site plan, you can see that they have it all paved. They're showing the circulation being one way with ingress coming off the southerly driveway and the exit of the northerly. They're also pushing the parking stalls to the west, and this is in the interest of maneuverability. We don't want a situation where folks' cars are backing out into South Riverside. So this was reviewed by the Public Works Department. They're supportive of the layout as presented. They also have to provide landscaping along each of these street frontages. And finally, they reconfigured the number of, actually they limited the number of food trucks on the site, and also have kind of spread them out in order to comply with the spacing standards by the building department and the fire department. So overall, they're showing four pads for food trucks, pads A, B, and C, and there's also pad identified as pad 1, which is to be used as a rental on a short-term basis. So we did include these as conditions of approval. I won't read through them. That we make sure we cover all those big issues that I just presented. Moving along, the commission can find that the site plan as presented meets all the bulk standards of the code in terms of height, lot coverage, and setbacks. The applicant did state that it's in their intent to provide a trash enclosure. We didn't include that as a condition of approval. They provide a diagram confirming that it meets our design standards for trash enclosures and require that the trash enclosure be installed on site within 6 months of the final order. Moving on to parking. So again, the property is located in our frequent transit corridor, so off-street parking is not required. However, they are providing it as shown on the site plan. Again, they moved it further to the west, which helped from a safety standpoint. They're showing 7 spaces. Do not show any bicycle spaces, so we did include that as a condition of approval. They have to put one rack out there in order to comply with the biking standards. As far as frontage landscaping, again, they will be required to provide some trees and shrubs, and the applicant did state that they provide the landscape plan, so we include that as a condition of approval that they provide that plan and that they're installed by July 1st of 2026. And finally, the optional adjustments. The code reads that the applicant may seek approval of alternative methods of water delivery and wastewater disposal in semi-permanent pods, provided that the commission can find the applicant has demonstrated the alternatives proposed will provide sufficient water and wastewater disposal needs to the temporary mobile food vendors of the development without being a detriment to the safety and welfare of the public. So again, this is an existing development. The food truck's been there for several years now, licensed, so they're already self-sufficient. So the applicant has requested these optional adjustments. They state that as far as the municipal water, there's already a supply to the building, and that's where they get their water supply from. And as far as the wastewater disposal, they already contract with a commercial company, and I believe it's also a requirement through the health department that they have that service. So we include that as a condition of approval that they provide documentation showing that they have this commercial service provider that collects the wastewater and wastewater disposal plan for each food truck. And we also, we already talked about the installing the backflow preventer. Again, with Medford Water Commission did change their request from 30 days to 90 days. So we'll be revising our conditions of approval to provide that update. All right, one last thing is the timing of the conditions of approval. So that's what's unique about this project. So typically, we get a new development with the Site Plan and Architectural Commission. Our conditions are based on the issuance of building permits, and then we also have another option of doing backing up to the certificate of occupancy. So in this case, the development's already there, so that puts us in a situation we need to add specific dates for the compliance of each individual condition. So I did include it in the table in your staff report. I just look at the big 4 up on top. So we were asking that they complete the submittal of the plans for the parking lot and that they record the cross-access easement by the end of the year. And then as far as the construction of the parking lot and installation of landscaping, we're requiring that be done by July 1st, 2026. We give them almost a year to get this done. Hopefully that won't interfere with their day-to-day operations. Moving on to our findings and recommendation, the commission can find that the 2 applicable criteria are satisfied or can't be satisfied with the imposition of the conditions of approval contained in Exhibit A. And finally, our recommendation, I will not read all this. I'll just kind of go over it. So I did highlight the areas that have changed in bold that are underlined. So we ask that you adopt the findings and prepare a final order of approval. We're asking that you adopt Exhibits A through H, with the Exhibit G1 replacing Exhibit G. That's the revised report from the Medford Water Commission. We're requesting approval of the optional adjustments as requested by the applicant. And this fourth bulleted point, this is a new one. So we're asking that you grant relief from the applicant dedicating a public utility easements along the site's frontages along both South Riverside Avenue and South Central. So it is discretionary in the code. So the applicant did reach out to Public Works and they have no problem with not requiring those PUEs. And finally, our 5th bullet point just kind of gives a list of all the timing of each individual condition. Again, I did highlight this area on the Medford Water Commission's requirement and change it from 30 days to 90 days. And with that, I can take questions. We also have in attendance, we have Doug Burrows from the Public Works Department, and we have Matt Brinkley from Green Top Planning, who is representing the applicant, and I believe the applicants are here as well. So I might be deferring to them on certain questions. But thank you.
Thanks, Dustin. Are there any questions of staff? Mr. Whitlock?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In reading the water supply, which is basically a 3/4 inch hose bib, is that compliant with the code? Did the building department kind of confirm that it's okay to have these accessing the water off a single hose bib?
They didn't comment. We didn't include that in the record, but we did receive a report from the building department, and they didn't state that they had any opposition to that
It
approach.
just seems really odd to me, but if the building department isn't concerned, I guess I won't be either. I also noticed that regarding the restroom requirements, it says basically if the restroom facilities are being provided off-site, that there needs to be a recorded restroom agreement, basically giving notice to everyone that the property that's providing the restroom facilities is burdened by the obligation to provide those. And I read somewhere in the report that staff considers these two parcels as a single site for purposes of the application. But it concerns me that somebody could buy the parcel that has the lease hold on it for the store and be unaware potentially of their obligation to provide restroom facilities. Does staff have a position as to whether it should be required that they record a restroom facilities agreement?
I think that was our intent. I guess we didn't put it in black and white, but perhaps we could include that in our conditions. So that's an interesting point. Thank you.
And then regarding the wastewater disposal, is it clear that the applicant is responsible for providing that service as opposed, the reason it struck me is that I'm aware of restaurants where the property owner leaves it up to the restaurant owner to get inspections of the hood and stuff like that, and typically they never do it. And so I would have the same concern if the garbage was not, the wastewater was not being collected for the same reason. So is it the applicant's responsibility, or could there be separate contracts provided in satisfaction of that requirement that they provide that service?
I think it is the applicant's responsibility. We try to outline it in our conditions of approval, and I believe all the business licensing with the building department, that's something they look at as well. So I believe they require documentation from Jackson County Health showing that is being complied with. But again, we've included in our conditions of approval that they provide evidence that they have that service in place.
Okay, and it's the applicant's responsibility to provide that service for the benefit of those pod users.
Correct.
Great, thank you. And I note that your motion that you had up there, the sample motion, included all of those timeframes, but I also noted that all of those timeframes are included within the conditions, correct? So it would not be necessary if we voted for approval to identify all those timeframes as you've set forth in your motion?
Yeah, I think that's correct. Just
Thank you.
play on the safe side.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see it, but like I say, in terms of a motion, it seems a little bit redundant since all of those timeframes are in Exhibit A. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your patience.
Thank you. Ms. Powell?
So, I was looking at the plants and then the green space on the images here, and typically it shows where the trees are and the shrubs are, and it doesn't show that here. The parking entrance into the ingress is almost 14 feet, and the out is 12. So you said in your remarks that it would be safer for people to not back up in a Riverside, but to be perfectly frank, I disagree. I think that parking right there, you are backing into that entrance, and someone coming off a 40-mile-an-hour road and somebody's backing up in those spaces could get hit. And if you're gonna put 3 bushy trees right there, that's an even more dangerous situation. Personally, I would have liked to have seen the parking on the opposite side, because if you're coming in, like I said, off of even a 25-mile-an-hour street and there's 3 cars backing up right there, that's a hard spot. That very far right one, those 2 spots are gonna be hard getting in and out of with busy road behind you. So it'd be nice to have maybe thought that through, in my opinion, a little bit more clearly, or at least widen some of those entrances and exits or something. But it'd be nice to see where those trees and bushes were and the height and width of those trees, because that I see as a dangerous situation.
Yeah, they will, ultimately will be required to provide a landscape plan that shows all that information. At that time, we're also look at clearance. They have to pass the clearance visibility, so we'll make sure the trees and shrubs aren't blocking the vision of motorists when they're pulling in and out of the development.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, if I was parked in that very right spot, I drive an Audi Q7. It's a little car. I would probably be backing up toward that arrow, pulling forward toward the parking spots, going back again, and then pulling forward. That is not a 1-point turn. You're actually going to be backing up and making a 3-4 point turn, depending on the size of your vehicle. That's going to be a tricky spot to get in and out of. So, I mean, I'm just being real. Parking is an issue in our area, and I think it's poorly thought a lot. But thank you.
Any other questions of staff? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. We welcome the applicant or their agent or both.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. Matt Brinkley, Green Top Planning, office at 415 Whitman in Ashland, Oregon, 97520. And here today, finally, to be able to present the backyard food court after many continuances. We're happy to be here and hopefully be able to ask for your approval of the site plan. Just want to clarify a couple of things. I think Dustin did a really good job in presenting the staff report, and we're fine with the conditions as they are now. He did mention that a couple of them had changed. The removal of the condition for a PUE, this whole subdivision, if you will, was originally platted back in like 1910. And so over time, all of the utilities infrastructure has gone into the public right-of-way, and there's really not a huge benefit to having a PUE either on Riverside or South Central because no one else has one, and the utilities kind of are where they are at this point in time. And the second thing is the backflow preventer. 30 days was just a logistical concern that we had in getting a plumber out to do that work in 30 days. So 90 days we felt was more reasonable, and fortunately Medford Water Commission agreed with that, and so we're fine with those conditions of approval and the timing on the other ones as well. A couple of things to clarify, though, just real quickly, and to answer some of the questions that Commissioners Whitlock and Powell raised. The applicants, Terry and Lori Wells, who are here behind me today, are actually under land contract to buy the property. So they're purchasing the property. The code treats this as one unit of land, even though they are technically still two separate lots. Probably at some point in time, there'll be a lot line adjustment, and they'll be consolidated into one lot, but they don't own it completely yet, so that's just not happened. But it is their intent to continue to own, operate this site as one unit, as one site. But an interesting question about the two being separate if one were to be sold off. On the restroom issue, so that's kind of addressing the restroom issue. It's their intent to continue to keep these two things together. And really, the way that the site plan is created to comply with city code, it will have to function as one property in the future. So I think that kind of answers that question about the restroom. The hose bib question, there isn't actually a standard in the code for what provides adequate water for a food truck in this particular case, but that's the way they're set up. If you have a camper or something like that, it's just a regular hose that runs to the camper, to the trailer, and provides water. For the wastewater, we do have a wastewater collector, Ken's Septic Solutions. And I actually emailed the two permits for the two active food trucks or trailers to Dustin earlier, and we'll provide additional documentation as soon as we can get that from the county health department. And so with issues about the wastewater, there are kind of like two checks and balances on that. You have the applicant that operates the entire site. It's their obligation to comply with that condition of approval, but then each individual food truck is actually licensed, and part of the licensing requires that they have adequate wastewater disposal. So the county doesn't like it if you don't have a means of emptying out the wastewater. So there are two ways to kind of make sure that service is provided for, and we'll provide additional documentation of that to the planning department within the next 30 days. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say. We really appreciate the city working with us. This will be a disruption when we go to do these improvements. The parking is really the most significant one. And the configuration that's proposed is something that we talked to the transportation manager, Carl McNair, about at length. And it's a difficult site to sort of retrofit. And this was kind of the best thing that we could come up with, because Carl would not let us have any access off Central Avenue because he's mean. And so if that had been the case, we might have done something a little bit different, had kind of like a through sort of circulation pattern or something, but we can't. And that's okay. So we figured out the best solution that we could. And with the landscaping plan, that's something that we will submit. We'll make sure that, and I'm sure staff will make us make sure that we don't have anything that's in the clear vision triangle, so that people entering, leaving are able to see parked cars, people leaving parking spots. And this is a significant improvement over what we have now, because we really don't have like a drive aisle per se. It's pretty tight. So this will be an improvement, and the Wells are concerned about the safety of their patrons and want to make sure that we don't have any problems. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Brinkley. Ms. Powell?
So is this an excess amount of parking spaces or the minimum that you have currently?
So there's no actual code requirement. This was kind of as
Okay.
much as we could get.
So do you know where you're putting the bicycle?
We don't. It will probably be close to pad number 1, I would think. Oh, and actually I should mention, currently the Wells operate 2 trailers. They may add a third that they also operate. They're not very interested in having other food trucks come in, and so we don't think that pad number 1 will probably end up getting used. It'll be used for seating, bicycle parking. We have so we have a spot for that. As well as then the trash enclosure. That's the other thing that we'll need to work out, and we'll want to coordinate with road disposal on that one to make sure that they're happy with getting in and getting out safely and conveniently.
And 4.
All right, thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Whitlock?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Matt, would your client object to adding a sentence regarding the applicant being responsible for that wastewater collection services?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Nope.
thank you. And then also regarding the restroom facilities, I kind of have the same question. From my perspective, I mean, I know their plan is maybe to run it forever, until they can no longer run it. But as you know, times change and circumstances change. And I'd like to make certain that it's clear that that one parcel is burdened by this restroom facility obligation. Would your client object to adding a condition requiring a recorded restroom agreement?
Looks like they're okay with that.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair, and thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you very much.
I guess we'll reserve time for rebuttal if there's anyone that speaks in opposition.
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. Do the Wells wish to come forward and speak on this item, or, okay, anyone else like to speak on this item? Okay, then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Can we have a motion? Or are there any other comments from staff? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion. I would move that the commission adopt the findings as recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare a final order for approval of AC-24-222 per the staff report dated July 11, 2025, including exhibits A through H and exhibit G1, which will be replacing exhibit G. Approval of optional adjustments permitting alternative methods per the provision of water delivery and wastewater disposal pursuant to MLDC 10.829A sub 17, and relief from dedicating public utility easements, PUEs, along the site's frontages with South Riverside Avenue and South Central Avenue pursuant to MLDC 10.10.471. This would specifically include adoption of the conditions of approval in Exhibit A and all the timeframes related thereto. The motion includes an addition to condition number 12 to make it clear that it's the applicant's duty to provide wastewater collection service to the site. So that would be the introductory phrase to condition number 12, and then condition number 12 would continue with that. Because the site includes those two separate lots, my motion also includes the addition of condition number 13 as follows: record a restroom usage agreement no later than December 31, 2025, in a form approved by the Planning Department in compliance with the provisions of MLDC 10.829 sub A, sub 6, sub B, sub Roman numeral 2. That concludes my motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I did want to comment about the parking, and I agree conceptually that it's a challenge to have that, but I also note on the site plan that someone, I mean, it wouldn't be easy, but they could back up into that parking travel lane before they made the front approach off of the site onto Central. So it's not ideal, but as pointed out, this is an existing facility. Restrictions have been limited by staff regarding where they can, city staff, regarding where they can put the parking. So I think this is adequate, and I'm confident staff and the applicant will do everything they can to make that safing situation as safe as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Whitlock. Any other comments? All right. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Niehammer,
Yes.
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Whitlock,
Yes.
and Mr. Bender.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
All right, the motion passes. Thank you. Next item is 50.3 AC 25-156. This is consideration of a request for a proposed commercial development, Harbor City and Ollie's East, consisting of a coffee shop, pizza restaurant and drive-through, an outdoor courtyard, 3 food trucks, and associated parking located within the East Orchard Commons subdivision. The site consists of a single vacant parcel totaling approximately 5.72 acres. The parcel is located at the southeast corner of Hillcrest Road and North Phoenix Road and is within the Community Commercial Zoning District. Applicant is Roxy Corner LLC, agent is KSW Architects, and planner is Dustin Sievers. Are there any members of the commission that have potential conflicts of interest, have had ex parte contacts, or conducted any site visits? Mr. Whitlock.
Madam Chair, I am familiar with the site we're talking about and was intensely interested when I lived in that part of town before about what was going on. So again, I am familiar with the site and I have no concerns about any observations I have made that should be specifically noted.
Thank you. Ms.
I
Bell.
live up there in the Selridge area, and I drive by this section of the city probably 5 times a day. That is not an exaggeration. I believe I can be unbiased, but I am happy to see growth over there. Let's say that.
Thank you. Mr. Nietenhauer.
And I as well live in the general area and traverse through that area quite frequently. But I don't believe I believe I can still be impartial on my decision.
I would have to speak up and say I live in the area as well and can remain confident with any decision-making.
Not wanting to be left out. I live over there as well. So at my previous office, I drove by the site on a daily basis, but not quite as much anymore.
And just to be clear, Madam Chair, I moved away from the area, so I no longer have the residential issue. Thank you.
All right.
And an improvement to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Are there any members of the audience that have any issues with our site visits association with the property? All right, seeing none, Dustin, can we have a report, please?
Yep, thank you, Dustin Severs again with the Planning Department. Next up, we have the Harbor City and Ollie's East. Looking at requirements, again, the criteria for SPAC are found in section 10.205, and they are included in your staff report. So begin by looking at the project summary. So the subject site, as evidently everybody is aware of, is located at the southeast corner of Hillcrest Drive and North Phoenix Road. Those are both higher order streets. The surrounding area, so to the south we have residential. To the east we have a couple developments here. We also have, recently this body approved a medical office building a few years back on the subject, the larger development, which is East Orchard Commons. And to the north is the old Roxy Ann Winery and the Hillcrest Orchards. This has all been brought into the city as the urbanization plan has been adopted, so you'll be seeing a lot of developments to the north of the subject site in the coming years. Next slide shows an image of the subject site. It's not a recent image. I just snapped this off of Google Earth. As you can see, this is looking southeast from the two street frontages. Site's general land use plan designation is commercial. Its underlying zoning is community commercials. There are no overlays associated with the site. And the proposal is for Harbor City and Ollie's East, a commercial development consisting of a coffee shop, pizza restaurant, a drive-through, an outdoor courtyard, three areas for food trucks, and all the associated parking. Look at the site history. So in 2024, the Planning Commission approved a 12-lot commercial subdivision, which again is the East Orchard Commons subdivision. So what you see on the screen here is a master plan. I should point out this was not adopted. This is a conceptual master plan that the applicant provided with the land division in 2024. But it does show it shows the subject property, which is pretty consistent with what they're proposing now. And also you had the building here, the medical office building, which it may be done. I know it's under construction. I'm not sure if it's completed yet. And this body also approved another medical office building. I don't believe construction has started yet. You all would know better than I. And so, yeah, and then we did a PUE vacation in 2025, and we did a pre-application for the subject request in May. I should also point out with the land division, the applicant agreed to do all the street improvements along its frontage with Hillcrest Drive, including installing these driveways. And I believe their current is not quite finished, but is still ongoing. Issues and analysis, looking at the submitted site plan. Again, the applicant is proposing a pizza restaurant. This is building A identified on the site plan. It includes a covered deck. And you have building B is the Harbor City Coffee Shop. They both include a driveway, which I'm sure you're wondering the same question. The same question we posed to the applicant was like, what happens when somebody's parked here for their pizza and there's a row of people getting coffee? Well, the answer is that they're going to stagger the time. So I guess the pizza shop would be more of an evening, or the drive-thru would be more of an evening thing, whereas the coffee would be more during the daytime. But I will defer to the applicant to speak on that. And they will be using the existing landscaping as a buffer. We have the courtyard in the middle, along with a turf area. And the applicant is also showing, let me back up real quick. So the courtyard, they are proposing greater than 15 spaces. And per the code, if you have more than 15 seats, it requires SPAC approval. So I did include that in the motion that we approve greater than 15 seats. Again, so we have the food trucks. So this is just a conceptual plan. They're going to provide parking and the necessary hookups for daily pods. We just discussed this. So we did talk to the applicant, explaining that if this is their intent to leave them there permanently, they would have to go through SPAC, just as our previous application. But they explained that it is their intent to move the trucks every 5 days. So this would be a daily pod, meaning that it doesn't require land use approval, which is a simple business license. And did I miss anything? Okay. And then as far as they show a trash enclosure, and they also address HVACs, and it'll be concealed, which is kind of these canned conditions we include, just to make sure we provide additional information confirming that they meet our design standards when they submit their building permit submittals. Looking at parking, so the commission can find that 30 spaces falls within the minimum maximum. They provide a breakdown of their calculations here. They were able to take advantage of some of our reductions, so they were able to get the minimum required down to 30 spaces, and they also provide 8 spaces for bicycles, which is more than what is required. So the commission can find that parking is adequate. Look at this bottom row of parking spaces to the side. So they show a 24-foot drive aisle, which is required. However, only 12 of it is identified on the subject site. So we did reach out to the applicant, and they did explain that they will have an agreement. It's their intent to construct the whole 24-foot aisle with the subject application, and they do have a shared agreement with that abutting property. So just make sure we didn't include that as a condition of approval that they provide documentation of that shared use agreement with the abutting parcel, and that they construct it with the subject development. Landscaping plan shows extensive landscaping along both street frontages. It also provides parking area planters within the site, meeting all of the standards of the code. It's less than a half acre, so the special standards requiring that shading and or the installation of solar panels was not required for this development. As far as architecture, the applicant explains the architecture, and it is very similar in the architectural style of the 2 medical office buildings that this body approved. And again, I believe this one's done, and this one is in the future, but very similar. So move on to our findings and recommendation. So the commission can find that the 2 applicable criteria are satisfied with this application. And with that, we ask that you adopt the findings recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare the final order for approval of AC 25-156. That's per the staff report dated July 11, 2025. It includes exhibits A through P, and we're asking you to approve the outdoor eating area to include seating for greater than 15 patrons. And with that, I can take questions. The applicant's agent is also in attendance if you have any direct questions for them.
Thank you, Dustin. Are there any questions of staff?
I have, I guess it's a question. So this reminds me a lot of the new building, like atmosphere and buildings out in Merlin. I forget what it's called, where that little golf driving range is and all the food trucks and parks and stuff. It's really very similar. So in this area, you'll get lots of golf cart parking. So just to throw that out there, people will be driving in when they're golf carts. But also the turf area was like kind of piqued my interest. It would, just as a potential idea, that if I don't even know if it's zoned for that, but it would be, like I said, in that Merlin area, they have that little golf driving range. That would be a big revenue maker, in my opinion, because you have all those golfers right there. But that's just a suggestion.
Thanks.
Questions, actually.
Mr. Whitlock.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Condition number 6 on your Exhibit A, the last phrase is shall be constructed with the subject development. Which is the subject development you're referring to? Is it the current development proposal or the development of the adjoining parcel?
No, the current,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Of course, there's no guarantee that the property to the south will develop as presented on there or at all. So we want to make sure that that entire drive aisle is constructed with this application.
As I said, it's just a little bit confusing. When
Yeah.
you say subject, you have 2 subject developments referenced in condition number 6, but it's the current application.
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other questions of staff? All right, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing and welcome the applicant and/or agent.
Good afternoon. My name is Ray Chergwin. I'm with KSW Architects at 66 Water Street in Ashland, Oregon. Dustin did a great job presenting the project. Just a few clarifications. The first is we have an address assigned now to this site. It is 3188 Hillcrest Road. Regarding food trucks and the daily pods, there are CCNRs associated with the site, and they have a limit of 48 hours, so they do plan to rotate the food trucks every 48 hours at least. The frontage improvements have been completed entirely. Regarding the drive-through for the coffee, we are designing it to just be a coffee drive-through. We're building in place the potential in the future that the pizza place could sell slices in the evening or something when the coffee shop is not open. But for now, it'll just be a coffee drive-through. And then just regarding that drive aisle to the south, that's spanning the south property line, we are proposing to just develop the 12 feet of drive aisle, not the parking stalls that are shown there. Those would be by the other property in the future. And I think that does it. Any questions for me?
Any questions of the applicant? Yes, Mr. Whitlock.
You know, not really a question, but regarding the possibility for drive-through stacking that was referenced, from my perspective, that turns into a business decision that, that you'd want to make if you did convert that. If people get stacked and can't get whatever it is they're trying to get, they won't come back. So
Sure.
From my perspective, you're aware of the potential issue, and your solution, I'm sure, will be the best one for your operation. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And just to clarify on that, again, with the coffee, we would put the ordering kiosk at the kind of the northwest corner of Building A, which would allow us to stack 6 or 7 cars, I believe, before we even get to the parking lot.
Thank you. Any other questions of the applicant?
So I'm at this top left corner. That road going behind the gray-green building, that's the drive-through in question, correct?
Correct.
And then you're gonna have people standing in line at all these food trucks. Is that not deemed a safety issue? People just milling about, hanging out in a parking lot while people are trying to go behind the building for coffee? Like a toddler runs by and a car's trying to get into that drive-through? Seems like really close to me.
All of the pedestrian activity would be down in the bottom left. The food trucks are shown.
So on the opposite side in that parking lot?
Yeah. So, and all the vehicular activity would be around the perimeter, and we intentionally did that with the buildings buffering between pedestrian activity, and then the vehicular activity would be on the outside. And we're even proposing, where the two buildings almost touch, we're proposing a little fence there so young kids can't just run
No
out
ingress,
into the
egress.
drive aisle. So we're doing, and we're surrounding parts of the courtyard with little seat walls to keep people away from vehicular routes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if the agent or the applicant wants to speak, or if you're going to handle all the questions raised. So do you want to
Maybe.
reserve time for rebuttal? And
Yeah, I'll reserve some time for rebuttal.
Okay.
And the applicant is not here, but
Okay.
Cami Weirden with East Orchard Commons is here.
okay. Well, I guess we'll just open it up if there's anyone else that would like to speak on this item. All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And if there's any other questions of staff or a motion? Mr. Whitlock?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move the commission adopt the findings as recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare the final order for approval of AC 25-156 per the staff report dated July 11, 2025, including exhibits A through P, and including approval of the outdoor eating area to include seating for greater than 15 patrons pursuant to MLDC 10.833.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Nehammer,
Yes.
Mr. Bender,
Yes.
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Whitlock.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
Thank you very much. The motion passes. Next item is 50.4. This is exception 25-138. Consideration of an exception requesting relief from the setback standards in MLDC 10.710 in association with MLDC 10.430 at 838 Mountain View Drive. Applicant is Mahar Homes Incorporated. Agent is Jeff Mayfield, and planner is Stefan Roenfeld. Are there any members of the commission that have potential conflicts of interest, have had ex parte contacts, or conducted site visits on this item?
Madam
Mr.
Chair, my office has provided professional services on this property in the past, and Mahar Homes is a client of mine, so I'm going to recuse myself for participating in decision-making on this application.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Bender? Okay. All right. Stefan, can we have a staff report, please?
Of course. Good afternoon, Commissioner Stefan Röntgen with the Planning Department. Next up is the Mahar exception to the front yard setbacks. For the exception criteria, it can be found in section 10.186 of the code. It has been a draft in the staff report and is summarized here on the screen for you. And then this is a type 3 quasi-judicial decision, meaning you are the approving authority for this exception today. Quick look at the location. So we're off of Mountain View Drive. It's a single-family residential lot, a little less than a fifth of an acre in size. And we are just west of North Phoenix Road in that area. You can see it's your typical single-family residential lot that doesn't have street frontage onto Mountain View Drive. Street frontage has been provided with a minimum access easement, and I'll get to that a little later. And this is about the last vacant lot in this entire development, and it's now intended to be developed with a single-family residence. The general land use map designation is urban residential, which does allow for SFR4 zoning, which is the case here. And as you can see, all the entire subdivision adjacent to the east is SFR4 as well. And then we have some commercial development, lots of individual businesses to the west of the subject lot. Quick background, so the entire subdivision was platted in the early 1980s. I didn't put it on the screen here, but it's in the record. So when it was first platted, that minimum access easement in that location, it used to be right-of-way, and then it was replatted in the 90s. The right-of-way went away, probably because of the adjacent commercial development to the west. It didn't make sense anymore to put a street through there. So then it became a minimum access easement to provide, and that's spelled out in the recorded document, access to those lots to the south, so that's 27, 28, and 29. And it also provides street frontage for lots 28 and 29 that do not directly front onto Mountain View Drive. Lot 30 to the north was, I just looked it up before I came over here, the building permit was issued in 1983. That one has access off of the minimum access easement as well, but back then, like I said earlier, it was still right-of-way. So the lot 30 does not count towards the 3 unit maximum that a minimum access easement typically provides. So it's grandfathered in the case, or in 2 point. As you can see here on this is area on the left, I just summarized what I just talked about. So that recorded document in 93 together with the replat spelled out that the lots to the south all have legal access via the minimum access easement. This, when I say it's unclear, I just clarify that because I found that out just before I came over here. So lot 29 has the right to develop the property with a single family residence like the rest of the subdivision. And any appeal to the access issue, which by the way is not really the the point this exception is before you today would be untimely because that's happened in the 90s, so that's a long time ago. But again, this is not, we're looking at the setback exception, but I just wanted to point all that out because that was a question in the past when the building permit was first applied for. Here's, on the right side is a street view of Mountain View Drive, so that shows the paved minimum access easement, pre-existing paved easement, and then on the left side is the vacant lot. So, like I said, the application is for an exception to the front yard setback, so the minimum access easement creates a street for the purposes of setbacks. So we do have a 20-foot front yard setback to the house off of the minimum access easement, which is the black dashed line on the right side. The proposed site plan, well, a little bit of background here. The building permit was applied for a while ago. When planning reviewed it, we found out that there is a minimum access easement, so the setbacks weren't met. So this is kind of like the building permit is in limbo right now, pending this exception. This is why we have the proposed site plan here on the right side. So the applicant does request relief to the front yard setback requirements because of the platted minimum access easement. And what I highlighted here in blue is what is included in the minimum access easement. So this area is where we have to measure the 20 feet typically from. What is unusual here is that they included, and again, that was in the 90s, they included the required fire turnaround inside the minimum access easement, which these days doesn't happen anymore. So what we typically see on the new subdivision these days is something like this area highlighted in blue, where the access easement would actually stop at the corner of the lot just to get to the 30 feet of street frontage that are required for a typical single-family lot, and then we wouldn't have that issue. So staff, so here you can see the area highlighted in gray within the proposed building is what is affected. So it would be a relatively large chunk of the building that they had to minimize the footprint if we were to apply the typically required 20-foot setback. Staff does not have an issue with the proposed exception, and we have reviewed the applicant's findings and the conclusions and determined that they adequately analyzed the approval criteria, and therefore we do recommend approval of the exception, and that's 25-138 per the staff report dated July 11th, and that's including exhibits A to J. And if you have any questions.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Stefan. Any questions? Mr. Whitlock?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for clarifying the issue with respect to that turnaround. And I think what I understood from your statements is that the turnaround area in this minimum access easement is not typical of minimum access easements throughout the city, that it is an atypical configuration.
Correct, yeah.
And then the second question I have, you may not know, but is a two-story structure permissible in this subdivision?
Typically, yes. So yeah, if they can meet building height, maximum building height requirements and the setbacks that come with it, yeah.
Thank you. That concludes my question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
But I believe the building permit that was applied for is a single story.
That is correct. I
Yeah,
was just
okay.
wondering
Yeah.
if the conditions within the subdivision prohibited a different design than has been proposed.
They do not.
Ms. Powell?
As a Realtor who goes to hundreds of homes, I like this setback. I think it's a good idea.
Right. Anyone else have questions of staff? All right. Well, then I guess we'll go ahead and open it up to the applicant or
Thank
their
you.
agent. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Mayfield. I'm the applicant for the agent here. And just a brief clarification. on Stefan's presentation. Even though there was originally in 1982 what he referred to as a public street basically through there, the project that was being developed was a golf course community, and there was nothing within the golf course community that was public. The public streets ended as a Barnett Road, and that any of the circulation within this was all privately owned, and there was going to be a homeowners association, and the streets and so forth are being maintained by the homeowners association. When the current owner of the property bought what is now all of Alder Creek, these three houses were the model homes for the now defunct golf course development. And when the adjacent section of Alder Creek was developed as with public streets and so forth, it left these three lots with still a common area. There was no legal access for these. So in the process of doing that, the replat actually created this easement, converting the common area, not public way, into this easement. We have no idea why the turnaround is there. I've worked in this town for 45 years, and I can't tell you how many of these I've designed. And as was pointed out, typically the easement ends at the entrance of the property. The lot owner doesn't need an easement to maneuver on his own parcel. So with that in mind, and the fact that there are provisions in the code to allow us to, for a flag lot like this, to choose which is your front yard setback, I designed the building such that the north would be the front yard, and we're now in excess of any requirements there. And it wasn't until we went through the building permit process. In fact, planning actually had approved it initially, and evidently there were some questions that came up from neighbors, and so they went back then and notified, oh, we've made a mistake, and this is what you now have to comply with. We've spent inordinate amounts of time on this, and I can't tell you how much money, to get it to this stage for something that seemingly was a very common sense decision. But be that as it may, we're before you today, and hopefully ask for you to see the logic and the reason behind this. The turnaround that we've created there is actually in excess in size than if we had even followed the area that's in blue. None of the existing properties use this current for maneuvering for their space. Nothing we're doing here is precluding free and unrestricted access to the other three houses that are located. And in our estimation, we've met the intent of the code. So we would ask you today to approve this based on that fact. Be happy to answer any questions you folks have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayfield. Are there any questions? Mr. Whitlock?
This is sort of in the form of a question and a comment, and that is, did you have a chance to review the legal opinion that was provided within the staff report today?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and basically, for the benefit of the public, if they haven't reviewed that staff report, it says that this lot, Lot 29, in fact has a clear legal right to access the area, and I just wondered if you had any comments at all about that.
Well, that's obviously the three lots along that side do have dedicated access. I'm not sure really why 30 doesn't. I suspect it's because it actually fronted on Mountain View and has the minimum frontage requirements that a regular subdivision would. And like I say, these three buildings were built in '82. I mean, it wasn't something that was, developed with these standards. So, yes, I mean, that was why this is all surprising to us, is because we felt that, we had, the proper legal access. It was, in fact, the landowner that created that. He's the one that directed the surveyor to come up with that. So, yeah, it was a bit surprising to say the least.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Whitlock?
No, thank you.
All right, any other questions of Mr. Mayfield? All right, seeing others in the audience, I'm going to assume you want to reserve time for rebuttal.
That would be fine, thanks.
All right, thank you. Are there other persons in the audience that would like to come forward and speak on this item? All right, Please make sure to sign in up on the podium and then state your name, address, and at the microphone, please. And you can sign in after
I
you
did
speak.
sign in.
Oh,
I
okay.
did
All right.
that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure, that would be good. So, hello. My name is Karen Stoutenberg. My address is 842 Mountain View Drive, Medford, Oregon. My lot number, in looking at the map that they showed, I don't know if it's easier to show the one that he had. It was really good. My lot number is lot 28. And so lot 29 is the one that they're talking about today, and that's right next door to me. Okay, so there's my home drawn map. And I don't know, this does work. Okay, so over here, where you can't see, this is lot 27, and this is like their driveway, and then over here is Mountain View Drive, which is a big curve. Then our driveway is here. It's 12 feet wide. I know on their thing it says 20, but it's 12. And then this is my house, lot 28, and then across from me, this is lot 30. And then this is lot 29. There's no home on it, and the easement was granted in 1993. These three houses, I believe, were built in 1984. I think that's what my house deed says. So,
Sorry. Screensaver.
So that's the landscape we're talking about. So I wanted to say thank you for letting me speak today. I really appreciate it. I'm very nervous, so hopefully I can get through this pretty good. So when the little sign went up on lot 29 saying that they were coming in for this setback meeting today, I was really surprised because I had talked to the city planning department several times earlier in the year in January. So just to kind of see how that all ties in together. In January, I became aware of a application to build a dwelling there on lot 29. So I went to the planning department to get some information. I was told that they had a minimal access easement, and they would be the third dwelling on the easement. And I was kind of surprised because I live there. And so I said, there's already 3 houses on this easement. So I brought back some pictures and showed them, which I think you've seen some pictures of the 3 houses. So it's, it's clear that there's 3 houses on the easement already. And so I didn't really know anything about the city ordinance or when it went into effect or what the minimal easement thing meant, because that's not my forte. So
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. We have a timer for you. I'd like to give you another minute if I could. So
wrap it up.
Yeah, I want to be sensitive to others.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the minimal easement, you guys all know what that means. The ordinance was put into place in 1988, which was 4 years after the houses were built and 9 years before the other easement was granted. And so I feel like this setback should not be approved. The house did not have access until 9 years after the houses were built and 5 years after the ordinance, which they would be violating if in my opinion, it's violating a city ordinance, which I believe the city ordinance is there for people's safety regarding, access in and out of our driveways in cases of emergencies. 12 feet, 2 cars cannot pass. So when there is an emergency, which, there may be someday, We saw what happened in Phoenix and Talent. We saw what happened in Hawaii, houses that are really close together with really skinny driveways. It's not a good setup. And so I am requesting that you not approve this, whatever it's called, application that's in front of you today. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And do you have any questions or comments for me?
Ms. Powell?
So let me kind of understand. So you're at the dead end right now. There's a vacant lot next to you.
Yeah.
The person that is asking to build next to you wants to share your driveway, which will go, their car will go past your house. It's 12 feet. It will remain 12 feet. When they pull into their driveway, when they are backing out, they'll back into the setback they're proposing and then pull out. So I'm struggling to see how the setback for them turning around and leaving their house is affecting you, because it won't be in your driveway.
Well, the fact that there's more traffic
Okay, so
going in there is a concern. Also, so it's a 12-foot driveway. Just think of, common sense. To build, I think they have to take an excavator in there. They have to have dump traps. Don't they have to dig down to get under clay or something? So, and then when they're building, one person at a time, because they can't have a whole line of trucks bringing in stuff because they'll block my driveway. So it seems unsafe for there to be another set of people going in and out of that skinny little driveway. In case of an emergency, emergency vehicles will have a hard time. And if we're all trying to leave at the same time, it doesn't work.
Did you have anything else, Ms. Bell?
no.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time. Appreciate
All right,
it.
and thank you all.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to please come forward? Make sure to state your name and your address.
I do have my correspondence with the city if you would like this.
Yeah, Amanda, does she just leave that with you, or?
I'm going to speak directly into this microphone because then you can hear me much better. By the way, you're not doing that. I don't need to go my name is Paul Kangas. I live in 912 Mountain View Drive. I'm not part of the 3 people that live there now, but I'm an outsider. So if it takes more time, I'm talking for them as a group, and so maybe I get 5 minutes if I need it. I'm writing to object to granting exceptions to the setback standards for access to the building of a residence at 838 Mountain View Drive. The reasons for my objections to granting any exception to the above standards are as follows. My house is located 2 lots away from the sharp curve on Mountain View Drive, which I'm going to be speaking about as a resident that isn't in the access road area, but as sort of an outsider that witnessed what's going on there all the time. The access road to the 3 current residences begin in the middle of the sharp curve on Mountain View Drive. And I guess if there's a picture that I could see the site plan from.
Sorry, Stefan, could you share that, please?
This one?
That'll work, yeah. Anyway, you can just see the corner on Mountain View Drive. So that's kind of is my plea is that the main problems with this whole thing is the congestion and so on at Mountain View Drive. There are several reasons for that. I have witnessed the ingress and egress of vehicles on Mountain View Drive and the access road by the residents and others doing business with visiting residents of the 3 houses. Most people who visit the 3 properties, including family, landscape contractors, product distributors such as UPS, USPS, etc., do not access the road because it is too narrow, 12 to 14 feet, and the lack of adequate turnaround. These visitors usually park along this curb of Mountain View Drive as near as to the access road as possible. At times, the short curve on the Mountain View Drive can become congested and unsafe when parked vehicles and large passing vehicles such as road disposal, city maintenance of emergency vehicles are present at the same time. It reminds me of access and parking problems I have experienced on the cul-de-sac, in an urban cul-de-sac. Widening the access road a few feet, providing a new turnaround and building a fourth house would not likely mitigate many of the issues. In fact, adding a fourth house is going to increase that activity by almost 25%. And ingress and egress associated with the lots on the access road and congestion at the sharp curve on Mountain View Drive, which accesses all vehicle access and residents using the road. When talking about the congestion on Mountain View Drive at this sharp corner, you can look at this map, and if someone parks on the inside curve, people that have passing on Mountain View Drive either way have to go to the outside, and it's kind of a sharp corner for viewing the oncoming cars, and it's very dangerous. I don't know how many accidents have occurred there, maybe none. But if someone's parking on the inside curve and then the outside curve, and a garbage truck comes along, it can hardly pass. And if there's two large vehicles, it's impossible. I haven't seen an accident there, but I expect there could be one. I hope it's not me. My last concern, particularly for the subject access road, and I should call it actually a driveway, and the residents, is with efficient egress and egress from the properties in the event of a wind-driven wildfire, such as the Alameda fire in 2020, which are becoming more common. These fires typically move at high speeds from the southeast to the northwest, are very warm, and are extremely difficult to control. And I'll tell you that I'm a professional forester. I've been in the valley doing professional forestry work since 1984, and I understand what is occurring in the weather reports and in the weather that causes these wind-driven fires. They're becoming more common. Timely emergency notifications to the subject residents of an approaching fire may depend on the proximity of the initial ignition, the flammability of fuels. There are highly flammable fuels on the eastern lots next to the four subject lots, and the time of the day of any ignition. So I'm summarizing that any change that leads to greater impaired access or congestion by the granting of relief from any existing setback standards or the construction of another house would lead to added and unacceptable risk for the three subject residents and the surrounding community residents. Thank you for the opportunity to talk. And if you have any questions about my credentials or anything, I'm willing to talk again.
Okay.
Or provide more writing.
Please make sure that you sign in on the notebook there if you haven't already, just so that we have record.
Pardon?
There should be a notepad for you to sign in.
An envelope?
Yeah, it's over a little bit further.
I already signed it. I already signed the thing, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions, Ms. Powell?
So first of all, thank you for your service. As an ex-fire wife, I completely understand it, and I appreciate what you've done for the valley.
I can't hear you very well.
First of all, thank you for your service. As an ex-fire wife, I appreciate all the service that you guys provide, especially here in the valley. We all benefit from that. And you brought up a lot of great points. I want to address all of your plight and say that I understand where you're coming from. Like I said, I'm a realtor and I access roads like this all the time. I see and understand what you guys are concerned for. At the same time, not to be rude in any way, it's hard for me to want to deny somebody to build and become part of your community. So I just wanted to say that I do understand where you guys are all coming from, but somebody else wants to live there and just join you as a community and be your neighbor. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, I'm very familiar with the Firewise program and have been promoting it in West Elder Creek and in my community where I live. And I feel like the City of Medford Fire Department is promoting it. And I think all communities in Medford ought to accept at least the principles of the Firewise program. And I'm trying to implement those in West Alder Creek, where it's called a gated community. And I haven't succeeded yet, but I think maybe I have succeeded in them following the principles, but not actually accepting the legal parts of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the audience? Please come forward.
Hey, appreciate your time. My name's Trevor Benson. Practice psychiatry out in White City with the VA. A couple of years ago, moved into lot 27, 848 Mountain View Drive. Just wanted to take, sorry, I was a little nervous. Just wanted to take as little much time as possible. I know you're probably hearing a lot of the same stuff. My main concern, like as mentioned, is safety. The Medford Municipal Code indicates that a minor minimal access easement should service 2 or 3 houses. A major one should service 4 to 8. It's servicing 3 right now. I understand that there's something about it getting grandfathered in. I only recently became aware of this, so I'm kind of like rushed researching about it, so hopefully I don't get anything wrong about it, but it just seems to me that either it's now servicing a 4th house, which doesn't meet the standards for a minor minimal access easement, or we should welcome, which we do, welcome more people into our community, but the easement needs to meet the minimum requirements of a major minimal access easement for safety reasons, right? That's why we have this in the municipal code. It says it needs to be a minimum width of 20 feet, should have a pedestrian pathway at least 5 feet wide, should have curbs that divide the easement from the walkway, and it's currently 12 feet wide. And yeah, just to address Commissioner Powell's previous question, right? I get what you guys are getting at, right? How does that have anything to do with the setback and the turnaround, right? And it seems safe to be able to back up and then pull forward. But in the case of an emergency, which, there's a fire going on right now, and there was a fire, Alameda fires happened fairly recently, when we're all trying to rush out of there, the reason that these codes are in place are for safety reasons. That increases the risk that 2 of us are gonna run into each other in a rush to get out of there, and then we're gonna get stuck in the fires. I have a 15-month-old daughter at home and a wife, and my neighbors have families and kids, and we don't want to deny anyone access to our community. We want to welcome everyone in. We just want the access to be safe in case of an emergency. That's all that we're saying. And it seems like either this is considered a minor minimum access easement and it can't service a 4th house, or it's services 4 houses is considered a major minimal access easement, and it needs to meet the minimal standards for that for safety reasons. I did it, 26 seconds to spare.
Thank you. Any questions?
I guess I have a question. So are you guys asking for it to be widened or prohibited to be built on?
I would ask that it meet the standards that are considered safe to service 4 houses.
So expanded.
If that's what it would take.
So would that be eminent domain? The city takes some of your guys' land and builds a wider right-of-way?
I would prefer that the city didn't take any of my land, right? I would prefer they didn't take any of my land. I like my land.
Yeah.
We really like our neighborhood. So I would prefer they didn't do that. What I would prefer happen is, without having my land taken from me, that the entryway be safe for everyone that lives there.
So widened, meaning it needs more land.
Should that be the case?
Okay.
I'll say that I would then not have a space for my car in front of my house.
Sure. I'm
Yes,
sorry, but
yeah.
your
Yeah.
comments wouldn't be part of the record.
No. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. I would just say to attempt to thoroughly answer the question, in order to widen this easement to 20 feet with a 5-foot walk, or however we wanted to do it, right, we would have to, the city would have to take land to where cars could not park in front of their driveway. There's just not enough space to widen it. I mean, Karen has a picture of this, of a measuring tape there. It's 12 feet wide. You'd have to double it, you know? It just doesn't seem feasible. Like I said, we welcome, this isn't like I don't want more people in our community type of thing. I just don't, if I got to grab my daughter and wife and go, I don't want to not be able to get out while a fire's blowing through. I mean, I already had to evacuate for the Alameda fires, and it was right when I bought the house. It freaked me out. So it scares me that we'd have more cars trying to get out in case of an emergency.
Right.
Understood. I too have been evacuated, so I get it.
Yeah, it's scary. And it was like a couple months after I bought the house. I was like, this can't be happening.
Thank you for your time. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to?
Thank you.
Please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Deanna Lee, spelled L-E-A. I live at 3345 Elmwood Court.
Could you bend the microphone down a little? Thank you.
Sure. Want me to start over?
Please.
All right. Again, my name is Deanna Lee, spelled L-E-A. I live in a Mahar custom home at 3345 Elmwood Court. My property parallels the lot, my backyard, and we are separated by a common fence all across my back lot and all across the Mahar lot that we're talking about. Nothing goes straight, so it's sort of angled. And that lot is much higher than mine by several feet. On the right-hand side of my property, I share a common fence between the properties of 27 and 28. So I'm affected on both sides. After I received the information from you, from the planning department, I contacted Nick Card, who's our elected representative for our area. I called him on the 10th of July. He has not had an opportunity to call me back. The correspondence that I received listed a phone number and a person's name if I had questions. On the 15th, the morning of the 15th, I called Stephen Rosenfeld because I had a couple questions I wanted to ask. I don't know if he's here or not, but he certainly didn't have time to call me back. So I have not heard from either of them. I would like to know if a site visit was made by staff. I would like to know, I don't know what you do for sure, but I don't know if any of you visit the site or see the sites or go on site. I wonder if the fire department made a visit and to assess the access and provided a report. It seems to me that nobody really has much interest in this. Is it a done deal? Are we wasting our time? I'm personally very familiar with the narrow minimum access road between the three houses or among the three houses. And I too question the safety issue regarding access and what happens, how does a fire engine access the property? How does a utility, huge utility vehicle access the property? I question, without adequate access, how would a fire be fought? And how would people in those homes get out if a fire engine blocked the driveway? So there really, in my opinion, is some real safety issues and some quality of life issues. Therefore, I urge you to have listened carefully to the previous presenters, the concerns that have been expressed, the concerns of the past regarding the easement and so on, and the concerns of the homeowners, the concerns of the entire neighborhood. This just doesn't affect just 3 homes. And I ask that you deny this request. I also appreciate your comments about limiting a piece of property that's just sitting there vacant and not sharing a nice home on it with family. And I'm just wondering, and I know I've been told this can't happen, and I don't understand the rules, but you know, there is the Arden Creek driveway. Why can't, and I know it'd be a challenge, but everything's a challenge. Why couldn't an access come from that area? I don't think anybody's really opposed to the home and having neighbors. It's the access that truly is a concern and a safety issue. Please deny the request. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
So has that, this is the first I'm hearing of the Arden Creek. Has that been exercised by Mahar Homes? Or has that been posed by staff? Like, did anybody? No? And it was never brought up prior to today?
Are you asking staff?
Yeah, he shook his head.
Oh.
So, fire trucks are long, and you're right, they need certain widths and setbacks. You're already not, as somebody who has seizures and fire responds to a medical grade, those are medical issues. So a fire truck will show up as well as an ambulance. That's standard practice in the valley. They're usually the first to respond, actually. Fire trucks have more offices, more locations. They tend to arrive before ambulances. I hate to berate the issue, but there's not a fire truck already getting down that road. As in its current state, you're not getting a fire truck down that road. There's no turnaround, right? So I just want to point that out.
It's also the deepest lot back.
I'm sorry, you've already had an opportunity to speak. Are there, Kelly, were you going to say something?
Before rebuttal, please, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm. Any other members or in the audience that wish to speak? All right. Mr. Mayfield, would you like to come down and address any of the comments from the audience?
If I could, before his rebuttal, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes.
I want Mr. Mayfield the opportunity to rebut what I say as well. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about the non-conforming situation that we have here. So Lot 30, the lot on the north, was built, as I understand it, before the minimum access easement, or around the time that was created. So what a non-conforming situation is under our land development code is a situation where something is legally established. In this case, the minimum access easement was legally established, and it allowed, and it has allowed since for a very long time, up to 3 units to take access, to front and take access. About 10 years ago, we changed the language of the code to specify that it was to be used for 2 or 3 units, and it removed the front and, or it applied the front and take access language. So before, if you had street frontage, you could use a minimum access easement for access, which is exactly what Lot 80 does, or I'm sorry, Lot 30, but it has frontage on Mountain View. So under the way the code was structured before, the access to the minimum access for Lot 30 didn't really count because it has frontage on Mountain View. So that's a non-conforming situation now because the rules have changed. So at this point in time, the Lot 29 was legally created, and the owner has a legal right to develop the property. So what we've discovered through the building permit review process is the way that the turnaround at the end was platted is really problematic. It is not how we would do it today. We would identify an easement. You don't have the same kind of setbacks from easements that you do from a street frontage or a property line. They're different. So it's a different situation. I was doing a little bit of math as I was sitting here. According to the plat, and I'm looking at record page 149, lot 29 is 112 feet deep. That includes the 20 feet of minimum access, another, looks like maybe 15 feet or so of the turnaround. Sheffin, would you mind putting that up with your picture, please? With the blue. That would be super helpful, thank you. No, leave it up there, please. Yeah, so you can see how that is. And then something that we haven't talked about here is that this property is also encumbered with a 10-foot public utility easement along the southerly property line. So there's a whole bunch of constraints and limitations on this property. And I totally hear what the neighbors are saying. They're very concerned about access. I understand that driveway was built at 12 feet. The dedicated easement on the plat is at 20 feet. The city's standard for a minimum access easement today is 18 feet of pavement, so it is substandard to our current standards. But again, we're in a position where it's a non-conforming situation, so presumably the minimum access easement was constructed to a standard that was in place at the time. So that's all that I wanted to share, Madam Chair. I'm happy to answer questions about all that information dump.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions for Kelly right now? Okay. Mr. Mayfield?
So thank you for that clarification. That was what I was going to bring up, basically, was what you stated there. The one thing that may be not quite correct is that all three of these houses on 27, 28, and 30 were all part of the homes that were built in the golf course community. So that was already, those homes were already there when the rest of Alder Creek was platted. And the easement, like I said, was more of a housekeeping thing. I mean, there was this little space in there that had left over from the original development that was meant to be a common area, and that was converted to the access easement. And although I appreciate the folks' comments, and I understand that, I understand it's a tight lot. Believe me, as a representative for the developer, we've already given a considerable amount of consideration as to how this is going to be built. We may even take access for a lot of the heavy construction off of Alder Creek because, you know, of the things that they've stated. But at the end of the day, that's not what's before you folks. It's looking at whether or not this setback should be accepted for us to not have to set the 20 feet back further on the property. So any further questions of me?
Anyone? All right.
Thank you for consideration, and I hope you find to approve. If so, we literally have been at this process for 7 months. Oh, and one other minor, as part of the building permit application, all city departments have looked at and approved this, including the fire department. So no one has had any issue with this other than this little hiccup with the setback. But we applied for this permit on the 27th of December 2024, so we're coming up on 7 months on this. I literally could have built this house in the period of time we've been messing around trying to get this thing straightened out. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayfield. Any other questions of?
I have one just more. Mr. Mayfield, I'm just spitballing here, but it might assuage the residents behind you to provide the fire truck, the fire department's approval. Just a thought.
I'm sorry, what?
It might assuage the neighbors behind you to provide the fire department's approval.
They've already done that as part of the building permit process. The fire department has already reviewed this.
No, I understand that. I meant like maybe the people behind you, they haven't seen it, and you don't have to provide it. It was just a suggestion because that was their biggest concern. So
yeah, I don't know if there was actually any written. I mean, Kelly may be able to answer this. I don't know if there's any actual written comment. Although going through this public process, we also had to go through a land development meeting. So all departments in that situation also review it. And believe me, the land development meeting lasted 3.5 minutes because all he did was read off the names of each department. And they said approved, 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 approved.
And I totally understand that. I'm just thinking for the people behind you.
Understood.
Now they know that the fire department approved.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Anything else? All right.
Thank you. With that, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing.
I just want to say that we were not notified or allowed to talk before today. Just so you know. And I have consulted with the
Madam Chair, again,
Yes.
I can't hear. I mean, it's not a matter of the time restrictions from my perspective. It is that I cannot hear, and if the commission wants to hear additional comments, that's okay. But I can't hear when people are in the back of the room trying to communicate. That's why we need to be at the microphones and acknowledged by the chair to make statements. You just can't blurt things out. It won't be part of the record, and like I said, as a practical matter, I have no idea what you're trying to say.
I request a moment to speak as a person involved in this hearing.
And I appreciate that, but you had your opportunity and the time associated with that, and the public hearing has now been closed.
Okay, I asked for an exception to that ruling. Are you able to do that as chairwoman?
I'd have to look to you, Kelly, on.
So, so we've heard testimony already. We've
We have
gone through
time
the
for
public hearing
rebuttal.
process. We've heard comments from staff. We've heard comments from, rebuttal from the applicant. At this point, the public hearing has been closed, so the commission could vote to reopen the hearing. That's up to you to do so. But otherwise, I heard Ms. Stoltenberg say that she would want to appeal the decision. You have every right to do so. Once this decision is reduced to writing, we'll send action letters out, and it explains the appeal process. If you choose to do that, you're welcome to appeal the decision up to City Council. So at this point, I think, Madam Chair, I think the proceeding is ended unless the commission votes to reopen the hearing.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Whitlock, did you want to make a motion?
Well, I am prepared to make a motion unless one of the members of the committee wants to reopen. It's not my inclination to do so, not because I don't want to hear what people have to say, but I think the commission fully understands the issues that have been raised by those who are concerned about the application.
I agree, and as Mr. Mayfield stated, and as this application, this is an exception regarding the setback. And if this matter needs to go, be escalated further to the council after we make our decision, I believe that's the correct steps.
I am prepared to make a motion. Madam Chair, I move the commission adopt the findings as recommended by staff and direct staff to prepare the final order for approval of exception request E25-138 per the staff report dated July 1, 2025, including exhibits A through J. And for clarification purposes, this motion and the exception includes relief from the setback standards in MLDC 10.710 and increasing to 4 the number of dwelling units using the minor minimum access easement as limited by MLDC 10.430.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I would like to take a few minutes. I have been in public service for many, many, many years, as you can probably see from the gray hairs on my head. And most of my employment involves some form of government service. And it's frustrating to hear that that this has been predetermined and that we're not listening. And the frustrating part is that people think that if the decision goes against them, that we haven't listened to what they had to say. The problem is that we're balancing some interests here. We have what is clearly an established legal right to use this minimum access easement, and all the concerns raised by the opponents are legitimate, but we're balancing between whether the addition of one more house to this access easement will somehow turn the balance of the scales, if you will, to cause this to be a dangerous, all of a sudden, a dangerous and impossible situation. And from my perspective, and that's why I made the motion the way I did, I believe that there is some increased traffic, there's some increased safety concerns, but as I say, it's a balancing act. The Public Works Department has looked at this. And they did not have any concerns about any increase in safety concerns about that access onto whatever that drive is, that this minimum access easement accesses. Fire department has looked at it. They're not concerned about it. I can say that if there hadn't been for this atypical driveway turnaround that was for some reason added onto the minimum access, there wouldn't have been any issues at all with respect to setbacks and other things. That's what triggered this. And opponents did appropriately raise the concerns about 4 dwelling units using this minimum access easement. But again, in the balance of the opponents' concerns and this dedicated legal right to use this access, I just have to make this decision in favor of granting the use of that parcel. And again, it isn't because we haven't listened to what you had to say, those who are opposed, it's because we're balancing things. And in my mind, the balance weighs heavily in favor of utilizing this property as proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Whitlock. Any other comments? Ms. Powell?
I just want to echo your sentiment that because they did request the setback, that you wouldn't have seen it before you had that not been requested. You wouldn't have had a voice, and we are listening, and we're just trying to help assuage those concerns, and that we are limited and trying to keep an order and balance to things. So just bear in mind that I also am in favor of this, and I'm sorry for how it affects you, but I just hope that you can see it from our perspective and the future homeowner. So I
Thank you, Ms.
second.
Powell. Mr. Bender, did you have anything to add?
No, I basically accept Commissioner Whitlock's
right.
statements as to the nature of the approval and the motion that's on the floor.
All right. Thank you. Is there any more discussion? All right.
Amen.
Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Bender,
Yes.
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Whitlock.
Yes.
We have 4 yeses.
Thank you. The motion passes. Next item is item 60, which is written communications. I have none. Item 70 is new business, and there's none. Item 80 is report from the planning department.
All right, well, good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Kelly Aiken with your Planning Department. I just have one update for you. Just so you know, we have business scheduled for both of your August meetings, so August 1 and August 15. And I think there's only one on the 1st. I might have 2 on the 15th, so the 1st should be a relatively short meeting. And that's all that I had for you this afternoon, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Item 90 is messages and papers from the chair, and I have nothing, which leaves, pardon me. Item 100, propositions and remarks from the commission.
Just one, Madam Chair, for me.
I know.
Again,
I've spoken. No.
I wanted to thank staff again for some excellent minutes. Great job. Really appreciate the extra effort that's been put into those.
Yes, thank you. All right, any other items? Okay, item 110 is adjournment. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.